We have been talking about COVID and restrictions and masks and all of that for this past year plus with you, and we've experienced the frustrations of what seemed like a governor that was enjoying his superpowers a little too much, unwilling to yield or consider his version of science versus other people's versions of science. And our county commission, has been involved in numerous attempts to converse and generate compromise and reason, and that continues. And we've got Yakima County Commissioner LaDon Linde in the studio this morning, and to bring us the latest on another attempt to reach out to the governor and try to push for some sort of, I guess I would call it reasonableness. We'll see what LaDon has to say. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Very good. Good to be here with you, Dave and Lance. Thank you for the opportunity to address this. This is, I guess you would say, take 4 of our efforts to try to persuade the governor to make some changes. This was we announced this yesterday at our agenda meeting, and really has 4 components to it. Of course, we recognize the fact that we've made a lot of progress on the COVID effort between natural immunity and vaccination.
Right.
And we're seeing our numbers go down. Case numbers are down. Hospitalizations are down. And so there's been enough, I believe, political pressure put on the governor that he actually put out a reopening date of June 30th. But the question has been always, well, is it a true reopening? And so we asked for 4 specific things that we have concerns on. First of all, I will tell you that from a vaccination standpoint, I have been encouraging people to get the vaccine. As someone who works with doctors and medical staff for a number of years, I understand where people come from when they say, I'm hesitant because, typically a vaccine takes 4 to 15 years to develop, and this was out in 6 months. And so, but we do have enough information through the CDC's tracking that I think we can feel comfortable that it's safe. Now, can you say that there's no risk? Well, no, you can't say that. You can't say that about any vaccine or any medication. That's why in any commercial you see, this sidebar which takes 30% of the commercial telling you all the potential side effects. But
Yep.
but nevertheless, it's been a good part of the tool that's been able to move us forward. That having been said, one real concern that we've had are some of the incentives that the governor has put in place. And the one that we wanted to particularly address is the idea of segregating people in groups by their vaccination status. We looked at this at our church and said there is no way we're going to do that in our, with our congregations and divide people that way. The last thing we need to do right now is figure out more ways to divide us. And so, whether you're talking about, ball games, business events, churches, whatever the case may be, we've asked him to end that. We don't think it's productive or helpful to us. Second of all, we ask that he end the eviction moratorium for between landlords and tenants. With an unemployment rate now of under 6%, we've got to feel that most people are in inability to pay their own rent, and we have to restore some balance, get back to due process, and restore rights to our landlords. Sometimes people have the impression that landlords are all these rich people, and that's
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah. That kind of scenario or that kind of image where the case is many of them are just mom and pops that that own one house, or it's a second house and they rent it out for some income, and these people have been hurt, and so we're asking for a change there. The third item that we have asked, and although this is a federal program, we've seen states that have been able to combat it successfully, and that is the enhanced unemployment payments that we're seeing. I think you're probably all aware we can go around this valley up and down and see help wanted and we're hiring signs all over the place. And I've talked to businesses that are frustrated. Even the Yakima Herald Republic this morning had an article about restaurants are cutting back because they can't find the help. And so we're asking that, it's fine to have unemployment as a safety net, but it can't be so lucrative that they prefer it to working.
Yeah.
The three.
Safety net's one thing. Trampoline is another.
Yes. Trampoline or hammock was an image that came to mind for me, and it's not good for 3 reasons. One, federal government can't afford it. They're continuing to spend money they don't have. 2, it doesn't allow businesses to provide the services that they can and want to provide. And 3rd, it's in the long run, it's no good to that individual either.
Yeah. Let's face it. We hear it all the time as they pay lip service to the dignity of work and all of that. But But I think time has proven that's truly real, and that we forget about it or get away from it. But if you're doing something productive, you feel better about yourself, and when you do that, you make better decisions on other areas, and it carries over. So
Yeah, people need that.
yeah, absolutely. So we draft a letter. Sounds like you hit some of the high points. Sounds good. It goes out or has gone out to.
I thought it had gone out yesterday, but I see that you haven't received it yet, so I'll check in the office this morning when I get there to see
Okay.
where that's at. And there is a fourth point, too, that I haven't
Oh
mentioned.
yeah, well let's.
Yeah, which is to end the mask mandate once and for all. We have enough evidence out there that other states have done this. And even, it's kind of interesting, not that I spend a lot of time listening to Bill Maher, politically
Yeah,
incorrect.
that's probably a
but-
good call.
Yeah. But I saw him on a YouTube snippet recently where he was saying, why don't we look at the science? There are states out there that have done this and the cases have gone down. And maybe that's because people are out getting fresh air, you know, and, you know, and it's an unfortunate. When I walk around and go into stores, I mean, we've got, you know, over 50% of the people that are vaccinated now, and I'll walk into some stores and people are all still wearing their masks, even though the store's not requiring it. You see people out exercising or driving in their car by themselves with a mask on. They've been so panicked into this, and it's sad to see, really.
It is, and I experienced the same thing. We've talked to people who advertise with us that have expressed their concern about being able to get workers because they can't compete with what the government's paying, right? And we've seen the same scenarios of people, you know, and I with masks, and I don't begrudge. I don't have anything to say about it. If you're paranoid enough that you feel you need to wear a mask after vaccines and all of this, that's on you. But don't have it be coming to me from the governor's office, okay? And we are far enough along, and I agree with that 100%. So what do we expect the reaction to be? Crickets or return to sender, or what do we think?
You know, it's hard to say, but I will say this. I do believe that the political ground has shifted beneath the governor's feet. The very reason that we actually have a reopening date, I believe, in my mind, is that he has felt that pressure, and I think we're part of that. You know, as commissioners and other local officials, I don't think we do it by ourselves, but I think it's a cumulative weight, you know, of other local officials, businesses, just citizens, and their feedback. I think, you know, when you look back a few weeks and the fact that there was a pause at a certain point,
Right.
and I sincerely believe that pause took place because King County was going to be moved back to phase 2 under his rules, and he didn't think he could do that. And if his political base, you know, is in a position where he doesn't think he can take that action against them, then that's progress.
Yeah.
LaDon, what are you hearing from other county commissioners in eastern and central Washington? Are they feeling the same way? Are they also sending letters?
We actually, you know, the last letter we sent, we actually brought it. We have a county organization statewide, which is called WASAC, or the Washington State Association of Counties. And the last letter we brought, we actually brought that to a state meeting and passed it out among our, you know, fellow commissioners. And we know that many of them, certainly on the east side, are on the same page.
Yeah.
That's what we get. Some of them said, "Hey, can we just use this and tweak it a little bit and put our name on it?" Of course.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I think at least on the east side, there's a pretty good consensus that people, you know, we're all on the same side on this for the most part. There are some exceptions, but the west side's a little different. But even there, when you get to some of the smaller communities, there's a sense and a feeling that we'd like to move past this. We want to get back to normal.
I think we're close. I mean, you know, if you look at the numbers, we got our vaccine numbers yesterday. States 63% have initiated vaccine, 55% fully vaccinated, looking for that 70%. So if you got 63% that have initiated it and 55% of, you know.
We got to get there, Lance. I bought a
By
pack
the
of lady
30th.
fingers, and I want to be able to set them off on the 4th of July. So we've got to get there.
Well, you know, and with, you know, the interesting thing about that 70% target that the governor's put out there, it bothers me. I mean, it's great to get the vaccine, but it bothers me we're not counting the people that have already been exposed to the vaccine. They ought to be part of that total because that's immunity as well.
Well, and all our
Being exposed to the virus,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And
Exactly.
plus, you know, all the vets at the vet centers that got the vaccine, they're not being counted in our numbers here. So we're likely at 70% now. So yeah, a lot of frustrations in these equations, it seems like these days.
Yeah, they are. I don't think that 70% should be a target. And that's part of our push here to say, we've gotten close enough that this needs to end. I'd have to say, with all due respect, the governor enjoys his power, but we need to get back to the place where Department of Health recommendations aren't state law; they're just recommendations. And we can take that
Yes.
locally and say, okay, we can take this into consideration. We can educate people,
Yes.
like
Sure.
we do with things like cancer and heart disease, which were, by the way, the number 1 and 2 killers in the U.S. last year, not COVID. COVID was number 3.
And you're right. It becomes one of those. Here's where it's like we do with the flu. Flu shots are available here. Get them during this time, but nobody's out there saying, and if you don't, this is what's going to happen. So. The after action reports, anytime there's a big incident that happens on a national basis, they want to have commissions, they want to do all this stuff. I don't know that we ever do truly learn from mistakes. Does the county have any sort of review, the COVID in the rear view, where we learn lessons and we take what we've learned and put it into a playbook somewhere, anything like that? Is there anything?
I think that's a good point, Dave. I think, and that's probably a conversation we're going to have with the health district.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, and not that I want to go into too much of detail, but we've just interviewed 3 candidates for health officer, and one of the questions that I actually put on the interview or on that question list was, okay, we acknowledge that hindsight is 20/20, but look back at what our health district has done locally. What do you think they've done well? And if you could change anything, what would you do it moving
Great
forward?
question.
And I think we have to be able to have that conversation.
Well, and doesn't the community need to hear that? I mean, we're going to do an outreach to those candidates this week, and we're going to see if they'll come on our program and have that conversation, so the community can ask questions if they're so inclined, or at least we'll ask them, and they can hear from those candidates themselves. Hopefully, they'll agree. And
I hope they do. I think that'd be a great opportunity. I think we need a candidate that. They're all smart people. They're all doctors.
Sure.
That are well informed. They do their homework. But in the end, it's keeping current on current literature studies, the things that are going on now, and hopefully, yes, as a general rule, we want to follow those guidelines in science. But if we get to a point where we feel government is doing things that are not in the best interest of our public health, and I take a broad view of that.
Right.
Not just the idea that we've got this COVID disease out here, and we just have to focus on that at the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah, as the elected leader in our county, one of 3, what we expect is that you'll tap into the expertise of the health district, but that's just a part of the picture to the overall mental, fiscal, physical health of our county. And if you just operate off of one person's expertise only, or one factor's expertise only, you won't. It'll be out of balance with what the county needs overall. I mean, we'll prevent COVID. Everybody lock it up, stay at home, don't move. Great, it'll go away. But if you listen to business, let her rip. We're out there. We got to keep it going, and then it's like we got to step over the bodies to get into the store. No worries, So there's got to be a workable compromise, and it's up to you guys to have the flexibility to move the parts around in order to get to what makes for the best compromise.
Exactly, and that's what we continue to ask for, is to have that ability to make those decisions on a local level.
Commissioner LaDon, Linde, we're out of time for right now. Thank you for coming in, sir. Good to see your face.
It's good to see faces, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It makes
we want more of that.
It makes a big difference. Thanks for giving us the latest on what our county commissioners are up to, and we look forward to future chats down the road.
Very good. Thank you for your time.